Hi everyone, I'm Nick Poncia and I'm the head of CRM and Power Platform here at Experience. So I look after the implementation team covering Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. I've been with the company over 20 years and I've worked with all of our CRM offerings in some shape or form. I wanted to take some time today to talk about the breadth of products and services that we've been working on recently. We found ourselves doing less traditional CRM and much more problem solving of specific business challenges using the Power Platform. Now you've probably heard of the many Microsoft Dynamics 365 apps, things like sales, customer service, marketing, or customer insights as it's now known, field service. Now these are pretty well understood in terms of what they offer, but all of these apps are built on the Power Platform, and it's that I wanted to talk to you about today. And hopefully this will give you a better understanding of what we do and get you thinking about how it can potentially help your organisation. CRM has definitely come a long way, and we're now able to help solve any kind of data or software or process problem using the Power Platform ecosystem. So let's get started. I wanted to start by going through some common problems that we see in small to medium enterprises. And these are in no particular order, but I'm sure at least a few will resonate if you've worked in the SME space. Data silos. So are you using multiple disparate systems that don't talk to each other? Are you finding it difficult to collate data from these systems for reporting? Is it expensive or too challenging to get them integrated? Data quality. So do you have problems with data duplication, or are you holding multiple files that hold the same information? Incomplete or inconsistent records due to lack of control. Backup and recovery. Are you at risk of data loss due to inadequate backup processes? Scalability. Is the software struggling to keep up with the amount of data? Vendor support. Are you using outdated or free or low-cost solutions that don't have any support? Or maybe the software was built in-house by someone who's now moved on. Multiple products. Maybe you're using lots of different pieces of software which are difficult for staff to navigate. Maybe lots of different spreadsheets that rely on everyone filling them in properly. Maybe you're double or triple keying information into multiple systems that are not integrated. User adoption. Have users had insufficient training? Maybe there's just too much for users to easily find their way around. Security vulnerabilities. Are you using unpatched software? Do you hold lots of sensitive data? How secure is that data? Are your authentication mechanisms strong enough? So what can we offer to help? I'd like to show you a few slides on the Power Platform, and we hope that this will get you thinking about how you can maybe start to solve some of these problems with modern cloud-based solutions. So what is the Microsoft Power Platform? Microsoft Power Platform is a low-code platform for rapidly building customized end-to-end business solutions, and it consists of 5 product areas: Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Pages, and Copilot Studio. Before we talk about what each of these product areas are, I'd like to talk about Dataverse first of all. In basic terms, it's a cloud data store for business applications. And you've already got existing tables for all of your CRM type records. All tables can have custom fields. We can add custom tables related to any of the existing tables, and they can be added to track pretty much anything. And this is why things have moved away from traditional CRM. We can use this database to store anything we like. And as you'll see when we get onto the Power Apps slides, the way users interact with this data can be completely unrelated to traditional CRM. So some of the apps that are using Dataverse as the data store: Dynamics 365 Sales, Customer Insights, which was previously Marketing, Customer Service, Field Service, Project Service Automations, and there's many others such as Finance, Talent, Supply Chain. These apps share the same base tables, so account, contact, for example, but they've got many custom tables added for that particular function. So what are the benefits of using Dataverse? Well, because it's a fully serviced cloud data store, you don't have to worry about local storage, so running out of disk space. Backup, there's automatic daily backups replicated across geographical regions with point-in-time restore capability. Encryption, all data is encrypted at rest and in transit. Integration, obviously natively integrated to the Power Platform, but also Outlook for tracking emails and appointments, SharePoint, Excel, Word, and a host of other Azure services. Also database maintenance and performance is all taken care of. Dataverse also natively takes care of role-based and field-based security. So you've got full control over who can see, edit, delete, right down to individual fields. Calculated and roll-up fields. So fields can be used to calculate other fields and they can be rolled up. For example, order lines summed to give an order total. Business rules and logic, so field dependencies, automations and logic. So for example, if this field equals X, set this field to Y. If field value equals A, show fields B, C and D, etc. Data querying, it's very easy to mine your data across multiple related tables. For example, show me all the contacts who donated in the last 18 months who have not attended one of our events. Access to the data via the API, so developers can easily work with all the data that's held in Dataverse via the REST API. And these are all native features available without writing any code at all. So now we know what Dataverse is, what are Power Apps? Well, actually they can be anything you like. These are apps that can be shared to users within your organisation to meet a particular need. And these apps are one way that your users interact with your organisation's data, whether that data is in Dataverse or somewhere else. So we've got two types of Power App, both of which can run in a browser or on a mobile device. We have model-driven apps, and these are built on top of Dataverse. Model-driven means the underlying data model determines the user experience. And by that I mean the tables in Dataverse and how they are related to each other. So for example, if I add a button to show me accounts, which are companies or organisations, there's already a fully defined but fully customizable user interface to manage those records. And this is true for all the tables that I listed a few slides ago, so contact, opportunity, quote, case, order, invoice, etc. If I created a completely new entity or table, let's say to track vehicles or equipment, I need to then define the user interface in order to allow a user to interact with those records. So if I add a grid or a list to the account screen, as you can see here, contacts, the system knows all the types of records that are related to an account, so contact, opportunity, case, etc. So it will only allow me to show those records in that particular list. So going back to the vehicles and equipment example, if I add a list to the vehicle form, the system knows that only equipment is related to vehicle, so will only allow me to show those records. If I add a field, the system knows what kind of field it is, so we'll show a calendar for a date, a link for a website field, a dialer for a phone field, etc. So the data model that is designed in Dataverse is helping to create the user interface, hence model-driven apps. And these apps are responsive, So the screen layout fully adjusts to the browser or the device that's being used, whether that's a phone or a tablet or a desktop browser. They have a uniform interface, so the user experience is consistent regardless of the data table that's being used. So records are added and edited in the same way. So once you can use one area, then you can use them all. And as we said on the previous slide, because they're based on Dataverse, they're natively integrated to Office 365, Teams, OneNote, SharePoint, Power BI, Power Automate, etc. So the other type of app is Canvas apps. Now with a Canvas app, you've got complete control over the screen contents and navigation between multiple screens. Canvas apps use connectors to work with data from many different data sources, including Dataverse. So you can use data from SharePoint, Excel, OneDrive, almost any data source really. And the application can be fully customized or branded in line with your organization's identity. You also have offline capability with Canvas apps. And these are typically suited for apps that need to have either accurate branding, so maybe a customer-facing app in a public space, simpler, more repeatable use cases. So maybe you're guiding a user through a series of steps, such as submitting an application for something. Or apps that are mainly used on a mobile device. So you can easily integrate with the camera for capturing photos or scanning barcodes, etc. So just to show you a few examples of some Canvas apps, we've got allocating an office seat within a shared office space, gathering feedback as a visitor exits one of your sites, allowing an engineer to update a job status and notes, add photographs on a mobile device. And we can also combine the two types of apps. So a Canvas app can be embedded into a model-driven app. So moving on to Power Automate now. So this is a service that enables automation of workflows and business processes. Now your process might be triggered by something happening in a Power App, so a user adding or editing some kind of record, an email being received on a schedule, so once a day or once an hour. The process can then perform any number of steps designed using a low-code interface. And this process can branch off into different directions depending on criteria, or it can loop back round and repeat steps if necessary. It can also connect up to third-party systems, and as we can see there's a huge number of connectors available, things like Adobe Sign, Twitter, Eventbrite, Google Drive, and of course all the Microsoft services such as Excel Online, SharePoint, Forms, all Azure services. And we've also created custom connectors, so as long as there's an API available, then we can connect to it. The majority of our Power Platform projects utilise Dataverse for the database, Power Apps for the user interface, and Power Automate to do all the work in the background. But of course, Power Automate on its own can come in handy for a whole host of uses, whether it's integrating systems or sending out reminders or gathering files or data. You don't need to use Dataverse or Power Apps in order to use Power Automate. So moving on to probably the most well-known area, Power BI. This has been around since 2015, and in my experience, most organisations are using it in some shape or form. So I won't spend too much time on this slide, but Power BI has become one of the most widely adopted data visualisation and business intelligence tools. Similar to Power Automate, there are hundreds of data connectors, pretty much everything you can think of. Hundreds of visualizations. There are just a few shown on the report here, but there's all kinds of different visuals to bring your data to life. Many clients are now combining data from multiple sources into a data warehouse using Microsoft Fabric with Power BI on top for the reporting layer. Now, Microsoft Fabric brings a number of services under a single umbrella. So data engineering, so you're gathering your data, transforming data, designing the architecture and infrastructure needed to store the data, managing the quality and governance of that data. Data warehousing, so collecting, storing, managing large volumes of data from various sources into a central repository for analysis. Data analytics, your reporting layer, so Power BI now comes under the Fabric platform. And data science, so your more advanced topics such as statistical analysis, machine learning and natural language processing. This approach has a number of benefits. You've got simplified data access, so users are accessing a single source for all data. And the data warehouse is designed in such a way that it's easy for everyone to build reports. Data cleansing and transformation, so data is cleansed, transformed and standardized before it's loaded into the data warehouse, so all your data is meaningful and consistent. Query speed, so the data warehouse is designed for reporting and it's not continuously querying any operational database, and as a result it can be really fast. You can also do a lot of the heavy lifting as part of the data load rather than in the report itself. So for example, performing a sum or an average across many millions of records. It's also scalable. There's no real limit to the amount of data that you can hold. So you can store and do analysis on many, many years of historical data. The next area to cover off is Power Pages, which was previously known as portals. This is where you can start sharing your data with clients or supporters or donors or volunteers or anyone external to your organisation. This might be to gather event bookings, maybe to share progress updates on customer service queries. Maybe you're allowing members to update their own personal details. Essentially anything that enhances collaboration between you and your clients, or improves communication, or improves access to information, or streamlines a registration process, or any process really whereby you want to encourage and promote self-service. Power Pages is definitely worth a look in these kinds of scenarios. Here we've got a few screenshots of what the portals can look like. We have an event registration portal, a portal to book an appointment with a bank, and a volunteer engagement portal. So the last area to look at is Copilot Studio. Now this would previously have been covered under what were called Power Virtual Agents, so chatbots. But this has now been incorporated into the Copilot product and has all kinds of new AI-powered capabilities. So what can we do with Copilot Studio? Well, we can build conversational applications, and these are called Copilot agents. In simple terms, we can train our Copilot on one or many websites or files or a SharePoint location consisting of multiple files, or even Dataverse tables, and these are known as the knowledge sources. And then we can interact with that unstructured data in a conversational way. We also have the option for the AI to use its own general knowledge, which it will default to if it can't find the answer in your specified knowledge sources. So I would say use that with caution if you want to make sure your Copilot is only able to provide answers based on sources of information that you control. An example of this could be an internal Copilot agent to answer HR related questions, maybe trained on your HR policy documents that are stored in SharePoint. Here you would definitely not want the AI to use its own general knowledge. We can also define topics, and then as the user raises these topics, the Copilot can detect them and respond as you see fit. For example, and again using the HR Copilot example, if questions were raised about pay or bonus or any word or phrase that you want to use to trigger that topic, we can respond with a predetermined answer. For example, please discuss this matter with your line manager. We can also ask the user for more information that might be free text or a set of options, and then we can control the flow of the conversation based on their response. We can also trigger a Power Automate flow, which opens up a whole world of other possibilities. We can also use actions, so we can get information from external sources, which could be using the same set of connectors we saw in the Power Automate slide, or even a custom API, or an on-premise database using the data gateway. So your action could also be triggering some kind of process in another system rather than retrieving data. Essentially, it will do whatever your API call does. So for example, if we can't figure out what the user is asking, we could create a case in Dynamics 365 customer service to have an agent reach out to that person, maybe to give them some assistance. So those are the 5 areas of Power Platform, and I just wanted to run through a few examples of how we're using that. First one is for a charity that supports at-risk children and young adults. So some of their pains and challenges, they had inconsistent processes resulting in inconsistent data. They had significant data entry, obviously hold a lot of important information about each person that they look after. And as I'm sure you can imagine, it's really important that caregivers have a full picture of each person's background. With that, they have a large amount of multi-line narrative data. This previously would have been buried away in many, many thousands of documents. They were using lots of Excel files and printed documents stored away in filing cabinets. There's a large amount of extremely sensitive data. So the solution, we've built a custom model-driven app with more than 80 new entities or tables, but obviously leveraging some of the standard Dataverse entities and tables such as contact and activity. We've streamlined and automated many aspects of data entry through Power Automate. We've implemented numerous field validations to ensure consistency of data, integrated with SharePoint for document storage, integrated with Azure AD and using multi-factor authentication to control user access, and we've implemented security profiles to control access to sensitive data across the organisation. Another example is a leading provider of X-display interiors. Now, their business model is quite complex in that they help both businesses and consumers to buy and sell these interiors. And their pains and challenges were disparate systems, standalone website, ERP system not integrated, lots of manual processes. They were using a combination of a low-cost online CRM plus many additional spreadsheets to try to track everything. So the solution we implemented was a custom model-driven app to manage their entire sales process from lead to invoice. And this was both leads where customers were looking to buy but also sell their furniture. Using Azure Logic Apps, which I haven't previously mentioned but this is our enterprise solution for integrations. And the process designer is much like Power Automate, but it has much better performance and scalability. Also more advanced workflow capabilities such as error handling, retry policies, better logging and fault diagnosis. It also has consumption-based pricing, which we've found to be quite reasonable. We also used some custom development, creating a three-way integration between their web shop, which is Magento, Dynamics 365 and Business Central. So we've got leads flowing from Magento into Dynamics 365, products flowing from Dynamics 365 into Magento, orders going from Magento into Business Central and then into Dynamics 365, and sales and purchase orders and credit memos going from Dynamics 365 into Business Central. We also have Documents Core Pack, which is a powerful document creation add-on for Dynamics 365, and Field Service to manage work orders. So this is the removal or the installation. So overall, quite a complex implementation, but it's using a good mix of products that are working really well together. So moving on to some more examples, but this time apps that we're building or looking to build in the future. First one is decentralized budgeting. So this is allowing you to gather and approve budgets for both cost and revenue. We have a workflow to prompt users to enter and approve budgets. Also some dashboards to improve the overall look and feel. And this is a model-driven app using Dataverse as the data store. Another one is the timesheet portal. So this is a Business Central Power App, a Canvas app this time to gather timesheet information, and it works great on a phone or a tablet. For one of our clients, we are building a membership app with self-service capability using Power Apps, also using Power Pages. And this will allow members to update their own details, apply for a whole host of services and see the status of those applications. And this will be replicating numerous paper-based forms and Excel spreadsheets. Grant management, so helping customers to manage grants they're applying for, but also when people or organisations are applying for grants from them. Purchase requisitions. This is an example of a Power App that's using Business Central as its database. It helps to streamline the process of requesting and authorising a purchase without the need for a Business Central license. So this is just a few of the possibilities. This platform can replace really any manual, paper-based or spreadsheet-based system with something much more streamlined and secure. And this is how Microsoft are pitching it as well. Solve any business problem. But essentially, any data or software or process problem across the organisation, there's potentially a solution in Power Platform. Lastly, there are a series of app templates that Microsoft have created. So we can see there's a selection of HR apps, some for SAP. We're already doing something similar for Sage 200. We could potentially do the same for Business Central. There's apps for managing common IT processes. So hopefully this gives you a sense of how broadly the technology can be applied. And with that, we've reached the end of our Power Platform introduction session. Thanks for watching, and of course, if you have any queries or questions, please reach out via the usual channels.